sponsored by the Degama Group.
Welcome to Rumbo Minero. My name is Jorge Leon Benavides, and together with Cesar Campos, how are you, Cesar?
Delighted, Jorge, as always.
We are going to develop this important program for Peruvian mining. We have as our guest Cesar and friends, viewers, and radio, none other than Juan Carlos Guajardo. He is the former director of Cesco and Cochilco. Let's talk, because it seems that there is a very serious problem with respect to the fall in production that could be coming in Chile. Copper, be careful with that. In times when it is needed, much more copper is going to be needed. Chile could let's ask Juan Carlos, but it could be falling 30%. That's a lot, right?
And although the situation seems to be improving, it is not true of our copper production. We should be concerned that our brother country has these problems, especially with a central productive entity such as Codelco, a company of the Chilean state. We will also have, Jorge, the presence of Claudio Perillo. He is the general manager of the Andean area of Techint Ingeniería. And we will also talk about a very interesting topic, the execution of large projects for the mining sector.
That's right. Now please join us for the week's top mining news. Thanks to Gabriela Chicoma.
Thank you, Jorge. These are the main mining news of the week. The National Society of Mining, Petroleum and Energy urged the government to give more budget for 2024 to SENAS and ANA, so that they are not bottlenecks in the mining sector. The head of the association, Victor Gobitz, pointed out that clarity and certainty are needed in the business environment if we want a mining investment shock next year. The Corocohuayco integration project will be fundamental to prolong the benefits of formal mining in the province of Espinar by stabilizing the decreasing production of the Antapacay mine. The mining company expects to start operating Corocohuayco in 2028.
Many thanks to Gabriela Chicoma for the week's top mining news. Well, we are now connected with Juan Carlos Guajardo, former CEO of Cesco and Cochilco and CEO of Plusmining. We are going to talk about the energy transition and the future of copper. We are connected with him in Chile. How are you, Juan Carlos? Welcome to Rumbo Minero.
Hello, Jorge. A great pleasure to greet you. I greet you from Japan this minute.
Excellent. Tell us a little bit. Despite the promise of decarbonization via electromobility and energy transition, copper has not recovered its record prices of this year. Tell us why.
Well, I think that in the last few months, some important changes at the economic and political level have become more acute. The most important thing, perhaps, is that the inflation effect has not yet fully subsided and has kept interest rates high, which is why many capitals have taken refuge, mainly in the United States on the dollar, and they have abandoned, in a way, assets with a little more risk, like commodities, copper in particular. On the other hand, the Chinese economy shows some weaknesses, especially in the real estate sector, and there is no doubt that China is still a big driver for copper prices. Therefore, these two elements are influencing the copper price to show some stall. The copper price shows some, let's say, stagnation, and also the demand that's going to come from the energy transition has not yet fully taken off. Electric cars are penetrating the market, but they still don't have a PINIS, a usage rate as high as conventional cars.
Juan Carlos, for this month of December, we are awaiting the COP28 meeting, this universal environmental meeting that sometimes establishes some measures that obviously compromise the decision of the countries. How do you think it is going to influence the price of copper specifically?
Well, I think that the COPs are certainly a very, very clear route to help the energy transition. But the truth is that in this instance, it is giving meager results in its latest versions. The agreements are not yet so definitive to really accelerate the energy transition, at least from the point of view of government commitments. There is always a lot of expectation that decisive agreements will be reached, but opposing interests have not allowed that to happen. So I would define it rather as a road we are traveling, but I think we have to be patient, at least for the COPs. We are not going to see such definitive effects yet.
Now, the new legislative initiatives of the Biden administration in terms of critical minerals, do you think they favor copper in Latin America or not?
In the United States or in countries that have a free trade agreement with the United States. Therefore, those countries that have this condition will certainly have a benefit since it will favor business investment who are involved in this activity.
Juan Carlos, here we follow very closely the dynamics of Codelco's copper production in Chile, and we are concerned that last year it had a recorded drop of 7%, while in the first half of this year, 2023, it has already been much more worrying, 14%. What is happening with Codelco's production?
Well, Codelco's situation is quite serious. I think more than what is perhaps publicly perceived. It is the reflection, unfortunately, of a process that has been incubated for a long time. Problems of governance, decisions closely linked to political cycles that are short. When project investment decisions, we all know that they are long-term. That those problems have led to the fact that today Codelco has a delay in the beginning of the projects that needed to replace the drop in production of its large mines. Es decir, la producción de reemplazo did not arrive on time. In addition to that, we are seeing management problems at the operational level in Codelco, which had not been experienced in a long time. Look at the rotation of general managers and other vice presidents that the company has had in the last few years. That speaks of unprecedented management problems at the administrative level. Therefore, I believe that this combination of two elements is unfortunately causing a crisis, and I believe that it will be very difficult to reverse, at least in the next 5 years.
Cochilco has stated that if no measures are taken, copper in Chile could 3%. Are any measures being taken, or as you say, is it already a bit late?
Well, I think that Chile lost a lot of time in some important issues, like having reformed the exploration sector, to have accelerated the work of the junior companies above all, and to have increased the discoveries. That is going to be very difficult to reverse in the short term. I think that what remains, and perhaps the good news that we can comment on today, is that there seems to be much more conviction in improving what is known as permitting. It has become a real Kafka's novel in Chile. The amount of permits that there are and the disorder the lack of criteria with which they are applied is incomprehensible. Well, it seems to have hit bottom, and now there is a conviction. The government seems to be determined to send bills to reform several aspects of this issue of permits. Therefore, between now and next year, we should start to have good news in order to avoid the production drops mentioned by Cochilco.
Very well. I think we are coming to the end of the interview, and I would just like to ask Juan Carlos, also with respect to Codelco, and linked to the question I asked you before, right? Because we know that it is the largest copper producer in the world because it has offered its Chinese buyers a premium for copper cathodes of $89 per metric ton for the year 2024. Something that gives you hope that probably next year it could be a little better. 36% less than this year's $140 per ton. What can you tell us about that?
Well, that this premium that is announced in every year at this time, what it reflects when it is a higher, lower value is what is the demand expectation from Codelco's customers, in this case in China. Therefore, the fact that Codelco has made a 36% rebate is indicating that the outlook is that China's demand next year is going to be weaker than it was in 2023. This premium, what it implies is that the buyers who want to secure a supply contract for the next year on a fixed basis have to pay this premium. Those who do not bet that this value of 89 is not going to happen in the end, and that they will be able to buy in the spot market at a lower price. That is a little bit the game around this definition. But behind this lower value, there is a vision of a weaker market in 2024.
Juan Carlos, thank you very much for being with us. Juan Carlos Guajardo, former Executive Director of Cesco, Cochilco, and CEO of Plusmining. As always, a pleasure to have you. We look forward to seeing you at Expo Mina in September next year, as always, as one of our most important speakers. And we also look forward to your visits to Lima to enjoy the Lima gastronomy that you like so much. Ha ha ha. Thank you very much.
No doubt about that, no doubt at all. And I'm crossing my fingers to be with you soon.
Thank you very much, Juan Carlos. Well, I would like to mention to our viewers and listeners that Rumbo Minero magazine, you can download it for free at www.rumbominero.com. And every 45 days, you have all the international, national mining information from America Mining, from All America. You can download everything every 45 days for free. Don't forget that we are now on different platforms in Spanish and English. The program is also in English. I would now like to give a pass for an announcement to Gabriela Chicoma. Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. Expo Mina Peru, the largest and most important mining event of 2024, with 16 years of experience, with the special participation of the United States as the guest mining country. Expo Mina Peru is the only Peruvian event certified by the United States Department of Commerce. Do not be left out and be part of this great mining event. Reserve your booth at Expo Mina Peru. For more information, visit our website, www.expominaperu.com.
Welcome to the America Mining Block. We are now with the Director, International Editor of our magazine, Rumbo Minero, who is with us from Wall Street, New York. Jose, how are you?
Very well, Jorge. Always happy to be in the program.
Jose, tell us about the recent trip of President Dina Boluarte to the United States for the White House meeting of the new Partnership for Economic Prosperity in the Americas. It has been severely criticized, even generating a ministerial crisis. However, the agreements and statements at the meeting could be extremely positive for the country in general and for mining in particular. What can you tell us about this?
Indeed, Jorge Cesar has published a clear and enlightening column regarding the crisis, in which he has recalled with special insight an event of Alejandro Toledo's presidency, which allowed the signing of the Peru-US FTA, which serves to understand what in English is called the silver linings, as they say in English, which are the silver linings that the meeting in Washington could have. And this is a more important meeting than it appears to be. The final agreement of the Alliance for Economic Prosperity in the Americas, APEP, which is part of an initiative launched by Joe Biden in 2022 during the Summit of the Americas in Los Angeles, signed by the presidents of the United States and Canada, and 10 Latin American countries, establishes a permanent forum for economic development in the region. The APEP establishes 5 priorities to strengthen the competitiveness of regional integration, foster shared prosperity and good governance, build sustainable infrastructure, protect the climate and the environment, and promote healthy communities. According to EFE, the platform aims to address the challenges facing the region in terms of infrastructure, the environment, technology, and job creation. The platform envisages that heads of state and government will meet every 2 years, and that there will be 3 annual ministerial level meetings, one with the heads of state and government, the other with the heads of state and government, and the third with the heads of government of the external parties, another with those of commerce, and another on the creation of a mechanism to provide for the creation of green bonds and blue bonds being those linked to the sea, through an IDB Nature Fund, with the aim of helping Latin American countries reduce their debts and prosper economically, boosting the growth of the middle class throughout the region, reducing inequality and making the Americas the most competitive region in the world. Most competitive in the world. Remember that French shoring and nearshoring are changing. Supply chains are extraordinarily favoring Mexico and could favor the rest of the region. President Biden also announced the creation of a business accelerator led by Uruguay to promote private capital investment in new businesses in the region, a technology industry and training center in Costa Rica, and a joint initiative with Chile to develop the satellite industry in the region. And as proof that these are not just statements, the State Department's Deputy Secretary for Economic Growth, Energy and Environment, Jose Fernandez, has officially visited Chile, Uruguay, and Paraguay this week to discuss with the respective governments the supply of critical minerals and energy initiatives which involve multi-billion-dollar investments by the United States to counter China's demand for them in the region. Perhaps the problem is not the noise, whether there was an official meeting or not, but rather to clarify that the meeting has been important and is going to be substantial as far as Peruvian mining is concerned if we focus on the subject. This visit by the Undersecretary should include Peru in an upcoming mining meeting.
Very interesting, Jose. On the other hand, a few weeks ago, we talked about gold's claudication. That is a very dramatic decline in its price, which, however, in these last weeks has had an exceptional rebound, reaching unexpected levels, at least for what is projected at the end of the year 2023. Why has this happened?
That's right, Caesar. Gold, which had fallen to $1,800 an ounce levels in early October, when market traders assumed that claudication gave a substantial bounce to $2,005 an ounce, almost close to its record level of $2,055 this year, in late October to trade at 1,973 levels this week. According to Trade Economics, traders have been weighing the latest economic data and geopolitical risks, holding positions in gold despite the recent correction. The market remains long gold, as traders say, on the weak employment numbers announced last week, which were around 150,000 compared to almost 300,000 the previous month, which has led to speculation, these employment numbers, that the Fed may have concluded its rate tightening cycle, which would have resulted in a drop in the dollar and treasury bond yields, which favor gold prices. On the other hand, the safe haven premium associated with the war in Israel has been fading as no significant escalation in the conflict is expected. In the immediate future, traders anticipate selling pressure from a rising dollar And as Fed policymakers this week have indicated that it is too soon to declare victory over inflation, necessitating the Fed or raising rates again in the near term, which is a drag on gold prices. On the other hand, the decrease in the geopolitical risk premium related to the war in Israel would also affect demand in gold, as according to Trade Economics, Israeli authorities have announced temporary pauses in the fighting to address humanitarian needs, which is easing some of the tension in the market.
Many thanks to José Gonzales from Wall Street, New York, for these very important reports, which will also be, of course, in the magazine Rumbo Minero. Thank you very much, José.
Always a pleasure.
I also wanted to mention that you have the magazine Rumbo Minero on the web, www.rumbominero.com. You have a magazine with all the international information, America Mining, Rumbo Minero, and the national one. All you have to do is go to the web and download it for free. Every 45 days, you will be able to download all this great information that is so important for Peru. Go ahead, Cesar.
Yes, of course, Jorge. It is time to present the block of the Institute of Mining Engineers of Peru.
In this edition, the Mining Convention has undoubtedly contributed to setting new objectives, recognizing the various challenges facing the sector and, above all, consolidating tangible solutions and viable routes to strengthen the industry as we know it today and directing it towards the mining industry of the future, the one with investments that generate well-being and sustainable development.
Today, we can speak of a multi-sectoral and transversal mining to provide the necessary and deserved recognition to all initiatives, projects, works and innovations that promote the development of Peru and the mining industry. In addition, issues of vital importance such as labor inclusion, equal opportunities and the approach of the sector to the new generations encourage Perumin to be a space that strengthens the bonds of fraternity among all participants.
Gathered at the foot of Misti, we are proud to be warmly welcomed by Arequipa, a region that reaffirms its commitment to the sector and that during the Perumin event becomes the world's mining capital. Thank you very much, dear Arequipa.
Well, we now meet Claudio Perillo. He is the General Manager of the Andean area of Techint Engineering. Claudio, how are you? Welcome.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Claudio, Techint is an engineering and construction company with more than 75 years of existence. Tell us about the trajectory of more than 40 years in the country and what role Techint has played in the national and regional mining sector.
Well, Techint arrived in Peru in 1976 for the construction of what is now the North Peruvian oil pipeline. At that time, it was a vehicle for the growth of the local economy, which allowed the development of the entire oil industry at that time. Since then, we have executed more than 50 projects throughout Peru, mainly from 2002 to the present, where after the execution of Camisea, it allowed us to anchor ourselves in the country and from there to accompany all the growth of the mining industry, which coincidentally also occurred strongly from the 2000 years here in Peru. This is how we were able to participate in the construction of the Mina Justa, participate in Toromoco. In its first stage, and more recently Quellaveco as well in the whole development that ended early last year.
What considerations did Techint have? That is to say, what is the key for this good news environment of investment in the mining sector to occur in your favor?
I think the central issue here of any investment is based on at least two very important aspects. The first is the potential. I believe that Peru, for all that one looks at the past and sees, the potential is there. That is to say, the resource exists. So the investment interest will naturally always be focused, at least the investment eye will always be on Peru. Then what we have is the whole political environment, and within the political environment, I summarize between the political and the social. The permitting part, I think we need perhaps a more modern permitting process to modernize our process. We do not need more flexibility, but we do need more agile, more modern processes that give certain security to the investor who is going to be there. I believe that in 8 years, having 6 presidents is not very good for investment. It breaks with institutionality, so many alternations. And if we talk about ministers, then that number is multiplied by 4 or 5 because each president had 3 or 4 ministers. At the time, that does not help at all. So I think that the political environment is where we have to solve more things in order to achieve the potential that is in sight, right, and that we want so much. For me, these are the fundamental keys for this development, right?
Now, the construction activity that you have in the projects, you have to deal with environmental issues, you have to deal with community issues, which are not easy many times. How do you reconcile these two factors with the activity you carry out, allowing a harmonious execution of the projects?
Well, the key is to consider them right from the beginning. I think that both we who are involved in the construction activity and our clients who are looking at the whole life cycle of the project have to think the same. In other words, we normally carry out our activities under guidelines of the clients who are the final operators and those who are going to be in contact with these communities for the longest time or living with the environment that is there. What we do is to follow those guidelines, but we also have a lot of experience in being part of a group much larger than our own. We are part of a group that is much larger than the construction company itself. In other words, our group is made up of steel companies that are leaders in Latin America, pipe manufacturing companies that are world leaders, energy companies, and these companies also handle these actions firsthand. So as a group, that experience reaches us. We can also contribute a lot from that side to the client's plans. I see the focus, community, obviously employment, being construction, a strong generator of employment, always the key to everything. But I believe that employment does not add value. It has to be employment with training. When you leave, you have to leave better people, better professionals in that environment who can continue contributing to the development of the operation. And from the environment, from the engineering stage, one has to take the appropriate considerations into account to define the best project for that place considering the environmental surroundings. Then there are the construction methodologies, right, which is the most friendly for what is going to be done. For example, a recent project in Peru where we had to cross a series of wetlands. So how do I cross the wetlands without leaving environmental damage or without killing that which is the lungs and of the surrounding communities? So I think that is where we have to think about it. That is why I say, considering from the beginning, I believe that all this becomes much more natural to the process.
What is your assessment, Claudio, of Techint Engineering of what has been the year 2023 compared to 2022, not only in operations within Peru but also abroad? And how are you projecting towards the year 2024?
Well, Techint, we do not measure from mid-year to mid-year. It is not our corporate exercise, let's say so. So in the year that we are finishing now, in June 2023, the truth is that we had a record of invoicing. We have done very well, leveraged mainly on activities in Argentina, Chile, Mexico, and Ecuador. In Argentina, a record case, we built a 36-inch gas pipeline in less than 10 months, some 440 kilometers long. Truly something unprecedented for us and for the industry. In Mexico, we are working hard on the construction of Dos Bocas, an industrial work of an important magnitude. And in Chile, very focused on all the desalination and water transport processes for the mining industry fundamentally, right? As we see, in the fiscal year that started now in July. From now on, we see a fiscal year with the same level of invoicing. The matrix changes a little bit. The mining industry becomes 50% of our invoicing in that fiscal year. Very much leveraged, again, in the activities in Chile. That, for us, it has been a very good period beyond the fact that there is a 1111, an investment term, right? Like Quebrada Blanca, for example. Similar to what happened here when Quellaveco ended and there was nothing to replace it. In Chile, we see that too, right? Quebrada Blanca ended and there is no project to replace that void. But, well, we did have a slightly different tale, so we foresee a full year in that sense.
What do you consider to be the positive, important points talking about Peru? And of the region as well, of South America, with respect to mining investment?
I think that South America is particularly special for mining, isn't it? It has extremely interesting countries with extremely complex economies. You have Peru, a young power with much still to be done. Chile, more mature. Argentina, with particular macroeconomic problems, which somehow keep investment away. Brazil, a giant country which has a little bit of everything. Si uno quiere mirar. So I believe that the mining has a complex scenario, but very auspicious in the region as a whole. And I think Peru is within that context. We already talked a little bit about the challenges, and I think to unlock those investments. And I think that with a little bit of concentration, good political will, we can have great things happening in the short term, I would say, right? With a vision to 2025, I would say so. These are very big projects. We are talking about Tia Maria, or we are talking about Zafranal. These are important investments and need their maturation time. Beyond all the media time they already come with. There are many years to be projected, but I believe that 2024 in Peru is going to be a year of, my expectation is that it will be a year of resumption in the sense of construction, of budgeting things, of getting closer to the customers. And 2025, maybe in the second half of 2024, 2025 is the year of concreting things, isn't it? To start effectively from construction, because the country needs it.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much for being with us, Claudio Perillo, General Manager of the Andean area of Techint Engineering. Thank you very much for your comments, for what you have told us, and we hope to have you here again in Rumbo Minero.
Of course, it was a pleasure.
Now, Gabriela Chicoma is going to tell us a little more about Expo Mina. Go ahead, Gabriela.
Thank you very much. Expo Mina Peru, the largest and most important mining meeting in Peru in 2024, with 16 years of experience. Do business with the mining sector of Peru and America, Expo Mina Peru, from September 11 to 13, 2024 at the Jockey Lima Exhibition Center. Portfolio of mining projects in Peru for more than $53 million, and portfolio of mining projects in America for $450 million. Invest with the leaders. Participate in Expo Mina Peru 2024. For more information, check our website, www.expominaperu.com.
And coming to the end of the program, Cesar, we have what Juan Carlos Guajardo, who is no less than the former director of Cesco and Cochilco, tells us. It tells us an alarming story for Chile, doesn't it? That is a 30% drop in its copper production. And it comes out again, it seems to be an epidemic in the region, doesn't it? The permissiveness.
And it should be called Percy, I beg your pardon, permisomania, says Elmer Cuba.
Elmer Cuba, right? So we see that everywhere there is trouble, right? Chile is having a very serious problem. We have already been warning about the issue of the Low Minas Viejas law. And now this one, he talks about not having invested much in exploration. Now, to lower the 30%, I still don't know. Let's not get excited about the Peruvians that we wanted to get to the first place, because it still wouldn't be this. We would not be in first place. But the most important thing is how they are immediately looking at the problem and seeing options for a way out, which is what we should be doing as well.
Of course, the most dramatic thing is the drop in Codelco's production, isn't it? In the year 2022, 7%. The first semester of 2023, 14%. and what Juan Carlos Guajardo attributes not only to the political climate, that is to say, to the initial populism of Gabriel Boric's government, but also to the lack of management of the company itself. The most qualified people are no longer in charge of it. So it is necessary to carry out a complete re-engineering of this important company.
Agreed. I totally agree. The issue of populism, unfortunately, in some countries, well, it generates big problems. Let's go. To thank you all. My name is Jorge Leon Benavides, together with Cesar Campos. We have been in this program, Rumbo Minero, talking about the important issues. Don't forget that we are now in networks, not only with the program in Spanish, but also in English. And we are waiting for you every weekend on the same signal. In a few minutes, we will begin with the Peru Construy program. Thank you very much.